So, you're an older man. Maybe you're in your 40s, 50s, or even 60s. You've seen the world, built a life, maybe even survived a few heartbreaks. And then along comes this young woman, vibrant, full of life, a little wild, a little mysterious. And, for some reason, she gives you attention. Not just polite small talk, but real attention. And suddenly, whether you admit it or not, you start feeling alive in a way you haven't yet in a while. It's flattering. It's exciting. And it's exactly where most men start making mistakes they don't even realize they're making. You see, there's something very specific that happens when an older man is drawn to a younger woman. He forgets that. He's already complete. He forgets that all the years, the battles, the lessons, those are his power. But in that rush of dopamine, he starts adjusting. He starts softening his edges, shrinking himself down, trying to fit into her world instead. Standing solid in his own. And that's when the dynamic flips. She stops seeing a man and starts seeing a guy. Aiguille trying to impress, trying to be cool, trying to win her. And just like that, the attraction disappears. This video isn't about judgment. It's about clarity. It's about helping you keep your dignity, your masculinity, and our self-respect intact. In the face of temptation, admiration, or even Jenny neck connection. We're going to talk about what not to do when you're in the presence of a younger woman and how a stoic man, a grounded man, a man in full possession of himself would approach his entire situation differently. These aren't just dating tips, they're life strategies. So, if you're tired of being confused, manipulated, or thrown off course by someone who hasn't even lived half your life yet, this is going to be a wake-up call. You didn't. I know Yanni det. Stick around because by the end of this you're going to see exactly where men fall and how you can rise by doing less not more. Number 1, don't try to her age. Point 1. Pain is the catalyst. You're not her peer. One of the most common mistakes older men make when engaging with younger women is trying to shrink themselves down to her world, trying to talk like her, dress like her, or pretend they get her pop culture references. It usually starts from a good place, a desire to connect, to relate. But what actually happens is the complete opposite. You lose the very thing that made you interesting in the first place. The moment you try to act like her peer, she stops seeing you as the grounded, composed, experienced maiden starts seeing you as someone trying too hard. And no matter how subtly you do it, she can feel it. Women, especially younger ones, have a sixth sense for authenticity. When an older man tries to be cool by mimicking her lifestyle, it feels off. Not because of off age gap, but because of the insecurity underneath. The reality is your age is not your disadvantage. It's your edge. You've lived. You've failed. You've risen again. You carry something she doesn't even understand yet. Presence. A deep, unshakable presence saintly comes from time in the trenches of life. That's what draws her in. Not your ability to name some trending TikTok dance or quote her favorite Netflix. Who? But too often older men feel they have to keep up when in fact the most attractive thing you can do is slow down, be still, be solid, but run her youthful energy around you while you stand firm in your center. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine you're in a date and she mentions how obsessed she is with some 23-year-old influencer. You could pretend you know who that is. Laugh along, maybe even pull out your phone and fake scroll like you follow them, too. Or you could simply smile and say, I don't follow that stuff much. I'm more into conversations that don't disappear in 24 hours. But one sentence, that's strength. That's difference. That's mystery. And that's exactly what catches her off guard in the best way possible. Not because you are trying to be her, but because you're reminding her you're not. That's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to be relatable, you become magnetic. Number 2, don't become her emotional too. The power of complete silence sponge. Another trap older men often fall into is becoming the Cabo of complete silence sponge. Another trap older men often fall into is becoming the cum older men often fall into is becoming the cum emotional spawn for a younger woman, absorbing all her chaos, confusion, and childhood wounds in the name of being there. For here, it starts innocently. Enough. She opens up about her past. Maybe her ex treated her badly. Maybe her parents were never around. Maybe she's working on herself. And because you're older and emotionally mature, you listen. You want to help, you feel like maybe, just maybe, she sees something in you she can't find in boys her age. But slowly, you find yourself being her therapist, her emotional dumping ground, her midnight phone call when life feels overwhelming. And deep down, you think this is building a connection. You think you found the one who understands her. She. Choose me. But the truth, that's not romantic bonding. It's emotional outsourcing. Especially younger ones will often unconsciously gravitate toward or older men for a sense of stability. But if you confuse emotional caretaking with attraction, you'll get stuck in the most frustrating PE position possible. The friend zone dressed up as Iny Macy. You'll hear about her bad decisions, her confusing dates, her mental health spirals, but none of it will lead to respect or desire. Why? Because a stoic man doesn't entangle himself in drama to feel needed. He provides calm by simply being calm. Allison's without rescuing. He offers insight without investment. There's a difference between being emotionally available and emotionally absorbent. One is grounded, the other is needy. Dress it up as nice. Imagine she calls you crying about her latest situation. And instead of diving into fix-it mode, you just say, "That sounds like a lot. I hope you give yourself space to figure it out." That one line, it signals that you represent but not caught. She feels seen but not able to latch on and pull you into her emotional storm. That's stoicism in practice. It's not about being cold. It's about knowing the difference between offering presence and sacrificing your peace. A man who's mastered his emotions doesn't let someone else's turbulence pull him off. Of course, no matter how pretty the storm looks. Number 3, never chase her validation. Let's talk about a mistake 3. Starve her of your attention. That quietly kills the respect dynamic between an older man and a younger woman chasing her validation. It doesn't look like desperation at first. It starts subtle. You compliment her one more time than she deserves. You wait longer for her replies. You soften your standards just to keep her interested. You change your tone. You filter your truth. All for one thing, her approval. But here's the thing. The moment you need her validation, she loses interest. You're not just a man anymore. You become a performer. You stop leading and start pleasing. You're not in your masculine. You're orbiting her emotional world like a moon, desperate for gravity. That's not attraction. That's erosion. And for a younger woman, someone still learning who she is, still exploring her identity, this becomes a power game. Note always consciously but instinctively she senses when your center is of balance. When you're bending instead of standing and instead of admiring your flexibility, she starts to test more. Pull back, go cold just to see if you'll chase again. You don't win her respect by being agreeable. You win it by being centered. Stoicism teaches that a man's value is not dependent on how others see him, but on how he sees himself. As Marcus Aurelius said, "It never ceases to amaze me." We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Flip that. When you stop caring about her approval, you regain your power. Let's get practical. You're texting a younger woman. She takes 5 hours to respond. You notice it, but you didn't panic. You don't double text. You didn't send a meme just to reopen the convo. You continue living, training, building. You let her come to you, and if she doesn't, you still win. B didn't compromise your center. The moment you chase her validation, you lose your edge. And for older men, this is even more critical because your value isn't in being fun or relatable. It's in being grounded, unshakable. That's what draws her in the contrast. Your emotional stillness against her chaotic curiosity. Here's the deeper issue. Most older men chase validation because they fear irrelevance. Society whispers, "You're too old to compete." So when a younger woman shows interest, they overinvest. They think, if I lose her, I won't get another chance like this. That's scarcity talking, not truth. You're not losing a chance. You're dodging a trap. Validation chasing also leads to self-betrayal. You start agreeing with things you don't believe, and you laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You tolerate behavior that insults your standards. All to keep the peace. But here's the paradox. Peace at cost of your identity isn't peace. It's self-eraser. And women can feel it, especially younger ones. They're drawn to older men because they want someone who won't bend tot hem. Someone who teaches through energy, not through lectures. When you stop chasing her validation, you give her something far more magnetic. Something to prove herself to. Let me tell you about Tom. Tom's 48, divorced, successful. He started dating a 28-year-old. At first, things were exciting, but he started overcompensating, planning expensive dates, complimenting her constantly, adjusting his beliefs to avoid arguments, and slowly she started pulling back, less engaged, less respectful. One day, she told him, "I just don't feel that spark anymore." What she meant? You lost your edge.